The advice and opinions expressed by Dr. Granpeesheh and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
Good morning and welcome to Ask Dr. Doreen. I'm Shannon Penrod and look who I'm here with.
Good morning and nice to be back with everyone. And Shannon, you should save your voice as much as possible today.
I know. The rumors of my death were only mildly exaggerated.
Oh, God.
No, I'm much better than I sound. Everybody has had this cough thing, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time if I happen to cough, but so thrilled to be back. It's 2025.
I know. Good God.
I know. Like, where does the time go, right?
How are we in 2025?
Seriously.
Yeah.
But it's a big year. I'm excited about this year. I'm excited. We're gonna do some amazing things here with all of you, and I know you guys are gonna do some amazing things this year. So truly wonderful. My child's gonna graduate from college this year.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
that's so exciting.
That's
in June or May or
May 19th.
Very
I've already
exciting.
circled the calendar. So we're very excited about that. But we're gonna have a great year. I've decided it's happening. We've ordered it up. We're gonna get through everything that we have to get through, and we're gonna find the happiness and the peace, and we're gonna stay in our lanes and do good work all the time.
I am there with you, sister.
All right,
with you.
We're gonna make that happen.
Yeah.
We're gonna cough through the first part of it, but clear our throats. But that's what we're gonna do. If you are just joining us and this is your first time watching Ask Dr. Doreen, oh my goodness, it's a great year for you because I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh, who is a true expert in the field of autism. She is amazing. When I get time away from you, I tell you, it just makes me remember how lucky I am to have time with you.
Oh, you're so kind, honestly.
No,
Shannon.
seriously.
This is the healthiest part of my day. Let me tell you.
But if you have been looking for someone to help you because you're a person on the spectrum and you want somebody who's going to meet you with fairness, who's going to look at you as an individual, if you're a parent of a young person, whether it's a child, a teen, or an adult on the spectrum, and you're looking for answers of how to support that person, you've come to the right place because Dr. Granpeesheh, I just got chills. Dr. Granpeesheh is truly the person who has been at the forefront of really advocacy for individuals on the spectrum, helping them to be all that they can be, all that is important to them for over 40 years. I really kind of choke on that a little bit because nobody would look at you and think you've been doing anything for 40 years, but she has. And so it's such a treat to be here with her, and everybody should know she donates this time as much as possible. I know that sometimes we're here on Tuesdays. Sometimes she gets called away. Sometimes I've been too sick. But usually when we're here on Tuesdays, it's because she has donated this time to all of you around the world to answer your questions in real time. So we're live right now. You might be watching us in podcast because we know the most of our audience listens to us in podcast because you're busy. That's life. That's how you consume media now, right? But we are live right now, and there is an opportunity on Tuesday mornings to write in live. You can always send questions to me or to Ask Dr. Doreen. Great website. You can go to either the YouTube channels, Autism Live or Ask Dr. Doreen, to be watching. And let's just remember that it's available on every single podcast platform. Ask Dr. Doreen. Now, I really, want to say to you for a while, Autism Live and Ask Dr. Doreen were in the same thing, but we really have separated them now. So I really want you, for your Ask Dr. Doreen stuff, go to the Ask Dr. Doreen sites. It's really tailored specifically for that information. We're still doing Autism Live. This is all part of the Autism Network, but we're doing different things on Autism Live. So subscribe to both, like, share, do whatever it is you're going to do. Now, I will say, because most of you listen to us in podcasts, many of you have asked us in the most recent years that, when you're listening in podcasts, it's free to you. We're a free download wherever you get your podcasts. But you get commercials, because we're all grown-ups, we know how this works. The way we make it free to you is that we get sponsors. So if that's wonderful for you and you love that gratitude moment when the ad plays, that's what I do when I'm listening to a podcast. The ad plays and I go, thank you for paying for this so I don't have to. But sometimes you're in the car and you're like, no, I have a certain long commute. I just want to listen to the thing. I don't want to hear the ads. It's a $5 a month fee to get the free, ad-free version of it. So you go to glow.fm/autismlive, and that gets you everything that's on the Autism Network ad-free, $5 a month. You really can't beat that. And then every time we do a show, it shows up in your inbox, and you can pick and choose what you want to listen to, and it's archived for you. So a wonderful thing. But I hope that we want to keep going. We're in 2025. This is insanity, how long we've been doing this. I mean, if you look at the first videos, I had brown hair. And, so I have grown old doing this. But what keeps the lights on is when you guys watch, like, share, subscribe, tell other people, review on iTunes. That's a wonderful thing to help us if you would like to. Also want to say that our chat is open live. Our topic today is sleep and bedtime issues, but we'll take questions on anything live. We do have some questions that have come pre-written that we're going to get to, but I want to acknowledge that Kayla has written in and said, hi, I'm a former card worker and I loved being a BT, but all the clinics closed in Oregon. Do you think you will ever move over into Oregon again? And I know this is a question you get asked all the time.
Yeah, I do. Hi, Kayla. It's so nice to hear from a former Cardian. Honestly, we don't know. We don't have any exact plans right now for Oregon. Oregon, unfortunately, doesn't, the payers and the state, one of the things that we were doing in Oregon, which I was very sad when they let go, the prior management, was that, excuse me, we're both going to be clearing our throats today, was that we were taking a lot of Medicaid in Oregon because nobody else was.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, we are not yet in a place where we can do that. So I'm not yet, Oregon is not yet on our list of new locations, but I know that there's a huge need, and I think they shut down 10 sites in Oregon. So I know there's a lot of families out there who need help.
Yeah, for those of you who need a little catching up on the fact that the administration,
we were not there. Yeah,
you were not a part of that. You were not a part of that decision at that time. But it really, I will say that Oregon needs good ABA, but they also, parents need to get together and make sure that they tell their legislature, you have to be able to pay a living wage for a company to be able to do it. A couple of things there, but if that were fixed, you're certainly not opposed to
no, absolutely
in Oregon. I miss you being in Oregon as well.
We had some fun offices up there. I used to go up there and enjoy being with everyone.
Yes, and great staff. Carla, I don't know, Kayla, excuse me. Kayla, I don't know if I met you in particular, but I met some amazing people up there.
Lovely
really
place.
Wonderful people. Okay, so we're talking about sleep and bedtime issues because if one person in the family, and listen, I can attest to this the last 3 weeks, if one person in the family isn't sleeping, it all goes off the rails.
Yeah.
It's not just a one-person thing anymore. And especially if it's a kiddo, not good. Let's start with the hard question, okay? But you guys can be writing in on sleep, bedtime, or any other question that you have right now, just like Kayla did. The question is, I'm hoping you can help me. My teen has severe autism, the kind people never talk about. There are times when he will stay awake for days, and she put that in capital letters. I'm not exaggerating. I feel like I have tried everything. Do you have any suggestions? I feel like I'm at the end of my rope. If he doesn't sleep, I don't sleep. We have lost so much. I'm willing to try anything you suggest. Really just want to jump through the screen, through the headphones, and hug this mom. I know some of these women. They're just warriors.
Yeah.
And they're going to stand by their kids to the very end. But a cycle starts, and some of these kids, I have seen this, where they just won't sleep for days on end. And and I see almost, I'm sure there's a psychological term for it, but for the parent who's trying to stay awake for that, they start to lose touch with reality.
Yeah, of course. I mean, sleep is the most important thing. Sleep deprivation is a torture technique.
Yeah,
Like, let's put it that way.
yeah,
So when it's this severe of a situation, and especially when you have a teen, right,
Yeah.
who is, and they're severely affected by autism, which means there's less of an ability to explain things to that individual, and
Yep.
most of what you do ends up being behavioral in nature. You really need to start with, figuring out why are they awake for days on. And I believe you, the question really is, why are they staying awake? And that's a medical question. It's not a behavioral issue so much as it is a medical one. You do need to have a conversation with a physician. There are, in universities, a lot of universities will have sleep disorder clinics, and they specifically have the ability to do things like sedate your child, give them an overnight EEG, which is a sort of a thing that has a lot of electrodes, and you put it all over the scalp, and then they can measure the brain waves during the night and identify things like, is the child actually having subclinical seizures we're not aware of,
Yeah.
or is there brain activity that's abnormal that needs to be controlled? We kind of have to figure all of that out, because ultimately it's about what's causing it, right? Yeah. Now, certainly what happens over time, and a lot of times we lose sight of this, something medical causes an issue and then we behaviorally reward it. So, and then it becomes an ingrained habit as well.
yeah,
But so, for example, when your teen stays up, he might be doing stuff that he enjoys. He might be on computers, gaming. He might, I'm not sure what he does, but he might be eating. He might be getting reinforcers by staying up. And so both sides have to be controlled. On the antecedent is the cause. It's very important that you figure out what is causing it. And on the behavioral side, then once you know that, there are ways to avoid or prevent the individual from gaining additional reinforcer by staying awake.
yeah,
Now, all of that said, the current situation is dire, and there's two things you can do. One is you can talk to a psychiatrist and try to get sleep medication for him. I don't know if you've tried. I'm not talking about melatonin. I'm talking
Right.
about prescription medication. You have a pretty stressful situation going on here, and for him it's extremely unhealthy, and he does need to have sleep. So you should be talking to a psychopharmacologist, a psychiatrist, any physician in order to get medication so that he can actually shut down his brain and have 6 hours of rest. That's
Yeah.
extremely important to his health. Everything else in our body gets messed up when we don't sleep on a regular schedule. Just so you know, like your hormones, your neurotransmitters, nothing functions correctly. So that's very important. And the other thing you can do is, and I don't know where you are, but you kind of need help for at least a few nights a week. It's sort of like when we have babies and, we'll ask our mother or someone to come and help. Just a couple of nights a week. If you can get respite care overnight, if you can go on care.com, where they have a lot of options for, I don't know if you can afford an overnight once or twice a week where there's someone else so you can sleep.
yeah.
I think those are some of the things that you got to deal with. I know it's extremely hard, but you got to do it. You just have to do it because you have to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, this is one of those situations that you always talk about, which is put your mask on before you help your other child.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard. I mean, my circumstances are totally different, and I in no way want to equate it with this, right? Respectfully. But I do remember when my son was 3 and he would not sleep until 3 in the morning.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And I was losing it. I was just nightly not sleeping until 3 o'clock in the morning, was losing it. And I always say, you know, the only way I could get him to go to sleep was eventually get in the car and drive him around. And there was the night that I dozed off for a millisecond driving him in the car at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, we got to change something. Now, we had just started at CARD, and you guys asked us, what are the 3 things that you need work on? And one of them was that he was regularly banging his head on the floor.
Yep.
So I said, you know, we need help with banging the head on the floor, going to sleep at a reasonable time, and of course, the third one, I wanted him to be able to talk. You know, I considered that a challenging behavior that he wasn't talking, right? I was upside down. But what I remember is CARD saying, okay, we're going to work on the sleep thing first.
Yeah.
And I was pissed. And I remember saying, let's work on the head banging thing first. But here's what they said. We need you to be rested before we can work on that.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that I want to share, that while it's totally different with this mom, like I was on 1 and you're on 22, but imagine it's times 22 for that. You're not going to be able to intervene effectively with this until
When
we
you're
get you some rest.
Yeah, absolutely right. Right.
So whatever that looks like, whether that's, I want to say that on Friday, I had a conversation with one of our moms, and I was talking about this kind of thing, about how, you know, you can't do everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to ask for help, and I was so amazed that she wrote to me and she asked for help and got it.
Good.
And I said to her, I'm so proud of you. That's the hardest thing in the world to do.
Yeah.
Because we get into this mode of, it has to be me, I'm the only person, I'm alone, I'm on Mars by myself, nobody can help me.
Yeah.
Right? And that becomes our identity.
It's true. It's so true. And there's part of it which is also our ego.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, why would I need help? I should be able to manage this.
Oh, that should.
Right?
I should be able to handle my child's behavior.
Yeah.
And the world looks at us and
Yeah.
says that, but it's all crap.
Yeah,
It's all
total,
stinking thinking.
Total, yeah. And the outcome is you don't get sleep, your child doesn't get sleep, and you're ready to kill yourself. Yeah.
I mean, literally, that is the fear. I mean,
know.
we've seen that happen because you get to a point where you're so upside down. So I hope you'll take what Dr. Granpeesheh said as seriously as a heart attack and find the way to get somebody to come in so that even before you try to do anything else, you got to get some rest and some sleep so that you'll be able to handle what it is that you have to do. Because you could have, I mean, Dr. Granpeesheh could come and be at your house to help you with the sleep, but I'm imagining that you're too sleep deprived to be able to really be able to carry that through right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of the reason that I want you to find the universities near you who might be doing sleep interventions is that they actually do the intervention at the university. So there is an opportunity, they teach you everything, but there's an opportunity for you to take it easy for a day or two, right? Because they now have your child is safe. Now what they're doing is looking to see what's going on, what's triggering this, and how do we intervene. Now, you know, you spoke about what was going on early on with you, and there were a lot of environmental causes, right? So, I mean, we talked about right now, I said, okay, so the antecedent is possibly something internal. And the only reason I say that is because this is a teen with severe autism. But the truth is, it could also be something environmental that triggers it still. So it could be a noise that wakes him up. I don't even know enough. I don't know if your child has a hard time falling asleep, staying asleep, or does he sleep, wake up, and then come over to you? Like, what's the pattern? Because everything is a little bit different how you intervene.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, those are the types of things you have to be clear about, or maybe you want to write back into us and let us know, like, what is actually happening. Because a lot of times when our kids like wake up in the middle of the night, it's either because some stimulus woke them up or they've been conditioned to wake up. Usually that's because children wake up and come over to our bed, and that is a reinforcer. So they're conditioned, their body is trained that if I get up at 3 and go over to mom and dad's bed, it's going to be nice. Or they wake up and they have milk or drink something, and that's a food reinforcer, which is very difficult to get away from. Sometimes you have to also pay attention to noises that are outside, things that are happening, darkness. When it's not dark enough, we're not producing melatonin. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's important to identify exactly what's going on with your child.
Yeah. A lot of different variables. I want to say, Kayla wrote back and said that she did meet me in Salem, and it was so fun.
Oh,
Oh,
Salem.
Kayla, I love, because we had 2 offices in
Yes,
Salem. I
yes,
loved
yes.
those offices. And we had I brought my, I don't know, Kayla, if you were there when I did the autism monologues, because you sent us there to do that. We did it at the Salem Public Library,
How
which was
cool.
a beautiful theater space
It
that
was,
they have
yeah,
there.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Kayla, I'm so glad I got to meet you. I hope we get to work together again. Melissa has written in and said, I'm in southern Indiana and I don't feel like my grandson is getting the right care. It's a lot of teenagers who I feel are just babysitting, and my grandson has hyperlexia and not getting the treatment he needs. What can I do? Melissa, could you write back and let us know the age of your child? Because I think that's relevant. Anything else you want to know?
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly what kind of treatment he's getting. And when you say a lot of teenagers, are these trained paraprofessionals, or what is he receiving right now? So we can try to figure that out.
And I love that Melissa is a grandparent and writing in and saying this. Melissa, I want to make sure that you write in and tell as much as possible so Dr. Doreen can give you good advice. But I also want to say that it's really helpful. I remember my mom, when I told her we were doing ABA, and she looked it up a little bit online, and just looking at a couple of things online, she was like, you should not be doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, thank you. And then she wanted to come and visit, and I said, no, you can't come and visit. And her feelings were really hurt. And then I waited till our program was solidified enough, invited her, and I said, she started in, and I said, Mom, I need support or silence right now.
Yeah.
And that was really hard for her. She couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But then what I did was I sat her down. We had baby monitors because we were having ABA at home.
Yeah.
And we had baby monitors with video. And I said, just watch for 4 days. You watch for 4 days. And if you don't tell me at the end of 4 days that this is amazing. And I'll tell you, the first day she was like, it's a bunch of teenagers babysitting him and asking him stupid questions. And it makes no sense. On day 4, she literally stood up and was screaming in the room. And she said, oh my God, it's a miracle. I watched him learn that. This is the most amazing thing. Why isn't this on the news every day?
Yeah.
So I don't want to assume anything, Melissa. Like, I want you to write in and tell us everything.
Tell us what you're going through.
But I also want you to be watching it to see the progression, because I think sometimes ABA is greatly misunderstood.
Yeah.
And when you do see the child learn something, you go, holy crap. How did that? I don't understand how you did that. I saw you 2 days ago do this, but how did they learn this on this day?
Yeah.
I mean, and my mother was such a believer to the day she died. She would talk about you and ABA and go, oh my God. It's the reason why we called it, we said ABA, the Autism Miracle in our living room. That's what we called it for the longest time.
Yeah.
Because that's what my mother said. She said, there's a miracle going on in your living room.
That's amazing.
With teenagers. Teenagers, Melissa.
I mean,
they're
they're not quite teenagers.
One of them
but-
was 19.
Oh,
so
really?
technically,
That's so funny.
yeah.
So the thing is that, and Melissa says that her son will be 6
Okay.
in February, her grandson. And the thing is, Melissa, that, I mean, first of all, tell us if it's ABA.
Yeah.
We don't even know.
Oh,
but,
you're right.
Yeah.
You're
but
right.
if it is ABA, there's high quality ABA and low quality ABA.
For sure.
So that is something we want to consider and talk about, whether what he's receiving is good or not. And then the other thing is, he seems to be hyperlexic, and that really should be used. It's a superpower of the child, and we want to use that as much as, yes, it's ABA, she wrote. Okay. So there's, I guess, a few things that you want to watch for if you are, and as Shannon said, to be fair, give it a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
But these are the things that you want to ask and question and observe. One is he learning new material? Is he learning? So, and that could take a little bit of time. The way that ABA works, just to kind of give you an idea, is that it starts with a very small goal or target, what we call, and so you take a larger target, like a skill that you want to teach, and you divide it into very, very small pieces, and then you prompt and model that piece, that particular behavior, and then you really heavily reward that thing so that it becomes a part of the individual's behavior. And you take another piece and you do the same thing, and it involves a lot of repetition. And when the child masters that, you kind of, oh good, now I can put these two things together to form something longer. And it's a very tedious process that may take a long time, as Shannon said. It won't look normal for a while. But then as soon as it gets to the point where the child kind of clicks and it's like, oh, when I want something, I don't have to scream and cry. I can just say, I want juice, and I'll get it. And then it clicks, and then the child realizes, oh, language is useful, and then it goes from there. So that's just an example with language. And with behavior, when challenging behavior occurs, a lot of what you'll see is a child having challenging behaviors in order to get the things they want. Yeah. I'll say that again. We tend to have challenging behaviors in order to get the things we want. So we will hit in order to grab a toy. We will run away in order to avoid something. So we have challenging behaviors that are not really good. And the ABA therapist's job is to literally ignore or block those things, not allow them to have any kind of effect, not allow them not allow the child to get the things they want when they have a challenging behavior. So when you do that, over time the child learns these challenging behaviors aren't useful. I better learn language. I better learn some sort of communication. With hyperlexic kids, the reason that I said you should be using that superpower is that we use the written word as prompts to teach spoken language. But again, all of this stuff that you're going through, have a conversation with your child, your daughter or son, and participate. Usually on ABA cases, there's a person called a BCBA. That's the Board Certified Behavior Analyst. They're the person in charge of the program. And have a conversation with them, sit down with them and perhaps the team or the therapist that's there, and say, tell me how my grandchild is learning, and tell me what the goal is. There's got to be a goal. So we can't just say, oh yes, I'm going to teach your child at this age 6 the following things, and none of them are connected to each other, and there's no real purpose to it.
Right.
There's always got to be a purpose. And here's how it works. Like, you start with the child and say, this is a child of 6 years of age. What are other children at 6 years of age doing? And what areas can my child not do? It's just that simple. Where has my child fallen behind? It's kind of like tutoring a math class, right? My child cannot keep up with the rest of the class, so I have to get him a tutor. That's exactly what you've done. What you're the grandparents, but your children have done. And the goal of ABA is to help the individual catch up as much as possible. So that's what it is. And you have to look at it, and you know, when you think that you feel like they're just babysitting, just ask your daughter or son to really look and see what has the child learned in the last month.
Yeah, but part of the teaching is, because you talk about this all the time, I'm going to get t-shirts made this year. It has to be fair.
It has to be fair. It has to be nice, fun.
It has to be fun. And so it's so funny because we have different camps of people who are fatouts about different things with ABA. And some people go, they're just babysitting, they're just playing with them.
Yeah.
And other people go, they're not giving them any time to have fun. It's got to be way somewhere in the middle.
So true.
If you imagine like the best school with the most interactive teacher who's making it the most fun, right? And where the kids are learning and they don't even know they're learning
Yeah.
because they're having fun.
Yeah.
That's what it should be looking like.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there are times when it won't be fun for the child.
Right.
Because when they're having to learn something and they get to a phase of frustration,
Right.
I always like to point out that my child was frustrated on a regular basis, but he was never left in frustration. If it's fair, the child goes through a frustration period and gets to the point where there's a reinforcer, a manageable amount of frustration, not hours and hours of frustration.
No, right.
As
There's-
parents, we tend to like not want our children to ever be frustrated, but we
Right.
have to remember frustration is a part of learning. My son, when he was 10, said to me, "Mom, frustration is just a sign that things are about to change."
Yes, that's exactly right.
Oh my!
That's so
From my
right.
10-year-old who went through this, you know. So we have to allow them a certain amount of frustration.
Yes.
The example I always give parents is, you know, when children are learning to walk, they will fall. They will hit their head on the coffee table, and then what do? Do we say, "Oh, that's it. We're not doing any more
We're
walking"?
not walking anymore.
Or do we put a bumper on the coffee table
Yeah.
and go, "Let's keep working on
Yeah.
it," because we know what the end goal is. So we have to allow them a certain amount of frustration, just not endless amounts of
Right.
frustration.
Right.
It's got to be fair.
It has to
And
be fair.
Fair means that you might be frustrated for a couple of minutes, but then you're going to find a way.
Right.
There's,
right.
I wasn't raised this way. Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I mean, my mother wanted to make everything easy for us. This is
Yeah.
not a kind way to treat people.
Yeah.
I love my mother. She meant well. But there's a video that's a viral video that's out there of a little boy in a karate class. And these are typical kids, right? And they get to the point where they got to break the board. And all these kids go through and they break the board. And then one little boy goes up and he doesn't break the board. And he's like, "I don't want to do it. I tried once. I don't want to do it." And the teacher says, "No, we're gonna stay here with you till you do it." And he says, "I don't want to. I don't want to do it." And the teacher says, "No, you're going to do it. It's going to be fine." And now the whole class is watching. He tries 4 or 5 times. He's like, "Please, I don't want to do this anymore." And the teacher says, "No, you're going to get it this time. I know you're." And now all the kids start to chant, "You can do it. And the kid is like, "No, I don't want to do this." And as a mom, can I just tell you that it's ingrained in me that I'm like, why are they making this child do this?
Yeah.
Right? I want to stop it right then.
Yeah.
But the fact is that in the video, the child does it. He doesn't get it another time, and he's like, "Please, I don't want to do it anymore." And the teacher says, "I know you're going to get it this time." He hits the board and has that moment
Yeah.
of, "I did it,"
Success.
and everybody gathers around him, and he's crying relief now. And you have that moment where you realize he is not going to go through life reliving this as horror.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to go through this and in his life and realize sometimes things are hard,
But you
I
succeed.
can do it.
Perseverance. Yes,
and
that's
that
right.
sometimes when we stop them before they had enough opportunity, we are not doing them a favor.
Right. Right.
I had to really watch that as a parent and go, sometimes I try to make it too easy for my child. And
Right.
for ABA parents, we really have to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
That it's about getting our child to the reinforcer so that they don't go, like, how many of us know an adult who has that memory of a child where they missed the baseball thing
100%.
and they're haunted by it, right?
Yep.
And we can be on the other side of that as ABA parents and allow our children, but we don't leave them in the frustration phase, but we get them to the point where they're having the release of, "I did it.
Yeah.
I can do it."
Right. Right. You do your best to get them to that point. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you got to move the goalpost a little closer, right? Sometimes you got to give a board
Make
that's
it
a little
easier.
thinner.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Right?
You got to make it easier.
You find the way to get them to a point where they feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
The self-esteem of that. So, but I kind of want to know, Melissa, like, if there's one thing that you could name that you would love to see your grandson be able to do, one thing, what would it be? And I'd love for you to write that in because, you know, then that would be a great thing to
That
talk
would be
about.
something exactly, and they can work on that. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and then you can see how they're working on that, and have that be important. I love that there was the family that came to CARD, and the grandmother was there, and said to the BCBA, I remember this story. Said to the BCBA, "I just want him to be able to say I love you, Grandma."
Yeah.
And they worked on that, and within weeks,
Yeah.
this little boy said, "I love you, Grandma," and that grandma was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
I don't understand everything that you guys are doing, but okay.
It works.
I
yeah.
see that this
Yeah,
works. I want
yeah.
to know more.
Yeah.
And that's a road in. Okay, well, right into us, Melissa. We want to know more. Because we don't want you stuck in the bad ABA. We want you in the good ABA. Okay, another question that we had about sleep. Our ABA team is asking us to wean our 3-year-old from his nap. I really feel like they are only doing this so that they can bill more hours. We tried it one day and he was so tired he threw up. What are your thoughts?
So, I guess I would ask this parent, how long do you think it's appropriate for him to nap? So it's not about the billing. Let me just start there. At least for us at CARD, it's not about the billing. We have 60 new kids trying to enter CARD every month.
Yeah.
Just can you imagine that?
Yeah.
That's about, what is that, 720, 800 kids a year trying to get in. So it is not about that, because if not this child, we can take in another child and work with them. It's really just not, it's not like there's a lack of demand.
Right.
Okay. So what it is, though, is that when a 3-year-old, and this is I would say it's a good thing, because when your 3-year-old naps, that period of time, unless their body needs it, that period of time is just a couple of hours of time where they could be learning.
Right.
That's what this is about. It's about taking advantage of all waking hours. That's essentially the formula, right? We want to teach all waking hours. Yeah. Now, if it's a 3-year-old who's napping once in the morning and once in the afternoon, you're wasting a lot of time. And the real question is, how are they sleeping at night? Yeah. Do they still need a nap during the day? Usually by 3, people have weaned their child off of napping. You don't have to do it all at once. You can do it gradually by reducing the nap time to shorter and shorter periods until you can then take the child off. We don't know that not sleeping one day led to the throwing up. It could be a lot of other things. It could also be that some of our kids get so stressed out that they actually induce rumination, and then we think, oh my God, what did I do wrong? And let me reverse whatever it is that I did. So I would say, listen, by 4, all children are off of their naps, so you should start working on this. You can ask the team to do it gradually, but don't come at it from a place of, these people are my enemy, they're trying to make money off of me. That really just isn't true. We have every agency that's good has tons of kids waiting for services.
Yeah. I actually think the flip is more the issue now, that if you have an ABA company that is putting pressure on you because they want to have your child more of the time, you're in a really incredible situation that you should be grateful
yeah, you
for
should be happy for
and
it.
thanking for, because I'm running across ABA companies that are telling parents that it's appropriate to give 10 hours to a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yeah.
So but I love that you said, how is the child sleeping at night? Because I think that that's
also
the key to everything. If you have a 3-year-old, I think so, that, like, probably this parent, because I just will tell you that I've seen this with other parents where they're like, well, they want us to wean off the naps and the child won't go to sleep until midnight.
Yeah.
Or they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever the thing is. So often it is, parents are, we're so resistant. I was so resistant to this.
Yeah.
Because that nap was like saving time for me in the afternoon.
Yes, it's like, oh my God, one other thing.
Let's be real about it, right? But,
Yeah.
or maybe I got to take a nap, right? But when we stopped doing the nap, at the same time that we started working on him going to sleep before 3:30 in the morning, woohoo, apparently that was a part of the answer.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy about it, but it led to better days.
Of course.
The shift of that. It does mean that things are changing.
Yes.
With your child and your child's schedule.
That's an important point.
And we have to, like, have whatever feelings we have about that.
No, you're right. People don't like change. You're absolutely right. And it's such a stressful period of time when you have a child on the spectrum and they're young, and there's just so much you're trying to figure out. So I completely understand the hesitation to try new things, right? And yeah, sleep is a big one.
But I will be honest with you, I don't think I've met a parent yet that hasn't, once they've made the transition, hasn't looked back and said, oh my gosh, that was a good transition for
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
Now we're sleeping through the night. Now my child is learning more. He's learning faster. She's doing more of the stuff that I was hoping and praying that she would. So it's hard. We get stuck in our own way, but
I want to spend another second on this one because I feel a resistance in this question. It's kind of like we tried it one day and he was so tired he threw up. So it's sort of like my poor child needs his sleep and this ABA thing is too much stress.
Yeah.
And if that's how you feel, then we got to talk about goals. And we got to talk about what is ABA and what do you want for him. And I'll start with no matter what causes autism, it does cause delays and it causes different ways of communication. Then you, as a parent, you need to ask yourself, what are the things I want for my child? And every parent has a different thing, right? Some people will say, I want my child to go to college, get married, have a very, very normal life. Other parents will say, I want my child to stop having toileting accidents and have a sense of safety and have some social communication, ability to talk. Whatever the goal is, it takes work because at this point your child has fallen behind and the way that their brain is functioning is a little bit different. So we now have to rewire and teach things that will allow your child to actually learn from his environment. So that's work. So let's just start right there and determine, because it's got to be something you love. It's got to be something you embrace and you want and you encourage. It cannot be something you dread. It just cannot be. If it is, it's not going to work. You have to love the ABA that's happening with your child. You can't come to it feeling like, why are these people trying to make money off of me? Why are these people waking up my poor child? What's their goal? What are we doing? You got to get on the same page, or they got to get on the same page with you. You have to have a mutual relationship of, this is our goal and this is how much work it'll take to get there, but we're getting there because we therapists are working on it and we parents are working on it and we grandparents in school and everyone is working together to get this child where he can go. And unless you do that, it's just you're fighting the people who are supposed to be on your boat.
Yeah.
And that's just energy you don't need to spend, and it's not going to succeed. So talk to the BCBA, talk to the supervisor of the case, figure out how to get on the same page. That's super important.
Marlene just gave you 100% and 2 exclamation points.
Oh, thank you.
They're on your page with you. I couldn't agree more. But I want to say that on the first day of ABA, as much as I fought for and tried to get ABA, inside my body there was resentment.
Yeah, of
Like,
course.
why is my life different than everybody else's? Why can't I be at Gymboree with all my friends, with
Just
their
having
kids who are
fun.
talking?
Yeah.
Why do I have to
Yeah.
be here with this and be dealing with this?
Yeah.
That was baked into my bones. What changed it was when you guys, the first thing that you taught him that made a big difference, and I went, these people are here to save us.
Yeah.
And then I entirely switched and got completely on board.
Yeah.
But there was bitterness in my bones. And I think that's part of this trip, is that we got to figure out what to do with that, where to put it, and not put it on these people because they are there to help.
They're definitely there to help. And in most cases, they know more than you do about how to help. They don't know more than you do about your child.
Yeah.
But they know
Important
more than,
distinction.
very big difference, but they do know more about ABA, and ABA are the behavioral techniques that work in teaching. So it's important that you work as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to say, while we were talking about this, I had a memory of, there was a mom who, her child, when he was 3, came to us, and he started his ABA program, and they asked her to wean the nap. She was really resistant, And he actually was somebody who, he didn't throw up just once, he was throwing up pretty much every day. And she called me up and she said, I watched your show, I'm not doing the 40 hours because it's too much for him. And we had to talk about it. And I said, what are they saying? Can you lean into them? Can you trust? Can you try it for a couple of months and see? And she wrote to me like a year and a half ago, and he's totally lost his diagnosis.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And she said, I'm so grateful because in that moment it was too hard for me.
100%.
And she said, but I knew that you had, that you would, my kid wasn't throwing up, let's be honest about that, but I had to go through the weaning the naps.
Yeah.
And I do, I get to sit in the place of knowing that we went through that hard stuff and my child graduates from college in a couple of months. I'm just saying, it's a good place to be in.
Yes.
And sometimes you just have to know the other people's stories to get through the hard thing yourself,
definitely,
right?
Definitely.
Okay. My husband suggested I write to you. Our 7-year-old is still sleeping with us. I will be honest, it is the only way that I can get him to sleep through the night. If I spend hours getting him to bed in his own bed, he still wakes up around 2 a.m. and gets into our bed. I'm so exhausted, I let him. I'm sure you will tell me I'm doing it all wrong, but I need my sleep. I bless this mom. I need my sleep too. My husband is done with co-sleeping and threatening to move out if I don't become willing to work on this. Help.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of want to put the dad to work.
Well, I mean, it's you both need to work on this, right? So, and I appreciate that probably dad is like going to work or something and he's saying, I need my sleep, but you need help with this. And I think that's where this starts, is that you need a period of time, and I would say minimum 3 nights, maximum like 3 to 5 nights, where you either have a lot of people helping you or you can take time off and just deal with this. Like, in other words, it's not something that just happens routinely. It has to happen while you are able to sleep during the day. Like, think of it that way. You will be awake during the night. Like, prep yourself or get the village in there to help. Because excuse me, at 7, this has actually become an ingrained behavior already. And what will happen, you can reverse a few things right now. Like, you can go and sleep in a cot in his room, and then you can gradually move your fold-away bed away from him in his room. If you're in his room, he probably won't get up to try to come to your room, and also don't let him, like, close the doors, right? And just lock your own personal bedroom where your husband is sleeping, or if you trade, and stay in his room. He'll be fine and he'll sleep there. And then the goal is to gradually remove you from his room. So over a period of months, you can very, very gradually move your the fold-away bed 1 more inch closer to the door, and then stay in the doorway for weeks and then gradually exit. That is like the easiest, like the most, the least stressful way of doing this, the longest, right? A lot of people will just do it and then will let the child have a tantrum or do whatever it is that they do at 2 o'clock, but will not allow them, will walk them back to their room. That's the other thing. But the bottom line is you're awake. You're going to be awake, which means that during the night you need your sleep. During the day you need your sleep. So first thing, get your team, which should include your husband, but if that's not possible, then get at least 1 or 2 other people who can help you. And if you don't have family members who can help, friends or family members, depending on where you are, you could apply for and get sleep intervention, respite care, which are people kind of like when you have a person come and help, or like a nanny, or what are they called? The ones,
like a night nurse for
a night nurse for the
an
first
older person.
Yeah, that too, right? Senior care or night nurse or something like that. But you'll need something like that for a week at least, right? So that you are getting enough sleep to be able to follow through with this intervention. And so basically it is the opposite. Now, what you are trying to do is you are trying to make sure that if he wakes up at 2 a.m., there's no reinforcement occurring. That means no fun games, no walking over and sleeping in a more comfortable place in between mom and dad, no food, no turning on the lights, no nothing. So everything remains the same. But in the morning, and you can shift, you can gradually shape this. So like you could, let's say he wakes up at 2 and refuses to go back to sleep. Make sure that you around 6 will get up, will reward him. Don't even interact about the fact that he didn't sleep. 6 a.m., wake him up, give him breakfast, do all the things, and keep him awake during the day so that the next night he's a little bit more tired. But make sure you keep him awake. Don't let him nap in the afternoon. Don't let him fall asleep at 6 p.m., whatever it is. Get him on the schedule. We tend to get on the schedule faster. And the more tired he is, the less likely he will get up and walk over to you at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So, and you know, that's one scenario. Another scenario is he'll wake up at 2, he'll have a fuss for 2 or 3 hours, and then he'll fall back asleep at 5. Wake him up at the regular time, 6 or 7, whenever you want him to wake up. Give him breakfast. Just get him on a routine. Act as if nothing different has happened, because the more important part of this is keeping the day routine the same.
Yeah.
Do not modify the day schedule to accommodate his lack of sleep. Remember, if he doesn't sleep, it's a good thing, because he will get tired, he will sleep. So that's kind of how it is, but start with getting help, because you cannot be the one doing this 3, 4, 5 nights in a row.
Yeah, I hope that's the part that you hear more than anything else, because what I hear is that there's a little bit of blame baked into this.
Yeah.
That like you're not doing it and the husband is saying you need to be doing it, but the expectation that you can go through your day and all the things that happen in your day, that you can do a whole intervention at night to get him to sleep in his own bed, and that you can wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and do the intervention, and that you can still get up in the morning and do everything. That's the part that's not making sense.
Right.
You can't, that's an impossible task.
Right.
No one can
It's
do
just
that. That's not just
it really
you.
is, yeah.
It's just impossible. So you need help.
You know, we're developing this whole new program called Neurodivergent Parenting, which is a pretty cool program. As you know, you're in a lot of it, and it's all just short videos for parents, kind of telling them how to deal with things. I don't think we've done one on sleep, and I'm going to make sure that it goes on my list of programs, because it is a big, big issue for so many parents.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can't wait till we can be offering that to people, because I think that it's incredible. Wished I'd had it. Okay, I want to get to this one. My teenager is nocturnal. Oh, sister, do I feel you. He has a really hard time staying awake during the day, even if it's something he likes. Then he is awake all night. I try to keep this under control, but I fail. Now, during the holiday break, I have lost all control. Today, he slept until 4 p.m.
This is hard.
Right? I don't know how he is going to go back to school next week. I know you're going to tell... I know you're going to ask. He is not allowed to be on the computer, TV, or video games at night, but I have caught him with his phone. I am afraid if I take everything away, he will leave the house.
Yeah, this is so hard, and he's a teenager.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, and I don't know when you wrote this question, but the funny thing is, you know, like we dread things and then we do them. So I'm sure school has come about or is about to come about, and what do? You wake him up, right? And you wake him up and he will have a tantrum perhaps, he'll not want to go to school, but then again, what happens is he will get tired, right? Because you are now forcing him to keep going, but he will get tired. This is, to me, honestly, Shannon, sounds like another situation where mom is just burnt out.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I try to keep this under control, but I fail. Right. You're not failing. Don't look at it as a failing. It's just that you are exhausted.
Yep.
And you need some sleep as well. So when he sleeps until 4, it's rewarding for you. You're like, thank God I can have a break.
Yeah.
So don't focus on this. Focus on who can help me. Focus on where can I get a few adults who are going to be my resource so that I only do this 1 or 2 times a week instead of every single day, and they deal with the other nights.
Yeah.
Then once you have that, you all get together and you say, well, first of all, and also computer or phone, they're the same thing.
Yep.
these days, so he cannot have his phone, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
And he really shouldn't be entertaining himself in the middle of the night, let's put it that way. So bottom line, I hate to say it, but it's the same as everyone else. The only thing you should allow access to is things like meditation tapes, and things like sound machines, things like that in his room, where he can listen to a story. Do we know it's a teenager?
Yeah.
Where he can learn breathing exercises. He can do all the things that other people do that help with sleep. But also I see that you're saying staying awake. So it could also be some sort of stimulus. This is staying awake during the day. Yeah. And then it doesn't say what time he actually goes to sleep.
Yeah.
He's awake all night. Yeah. So I think you have to set a time, like, I don't know, he's a teenager, so maybe 10 o'clock, and say, that's it, 10 o'clock, lights off, it is what it is, sorry, let him tantrum. It doesn't matter if he tantrums. He will get tired. You just need to be a little strict about this. Make his room as soothing as possible. Give him, nice environment where he is in his room and can rest. But take away all the electronics, including his phone. He gets it back in the morning. And during the day, get help from others so that he can, or if you have rested, take him out. Take him out. Yeah. Take him to the park. Go on a hike. Do physical activities so that he cannot fall asleep.
Yep. Go to an amusement park.
Go to an amusement park.
Go to Disneyland. That resets them. But the part that I hear in that question, and then I want to get at Eric's question before we're done, is that she's afraid he'll leave the house.
Yeah,
that's why she's allowing it.
I mean, and
but
is
alarms.
Yeah,
you can do
alarm
alarms.
system.
Get somebody to have a friend come and sit and guard the door. Sleep in front of the door. Do something. But
locks and alarms.
Yes, so amazing. I want to get to Eric's question though. Eric says, my twins who are on the spectrum wake up in the middle of the night and look for us. What to do then? We keep them up all day, play, do heavy work, mental work, but still wake up.
Yeah. So, and Eric, a lot of different things. Are they in the same room? Do they wake each other up? Are they having a good time? Do they gain access to you when they come looking for you? All of those things have to change.
Yeah.
They cannot be together. Like, as much as possible, you need to separate them. I don't know if you have the capability of doing that. Secondly, if they come and look for you, they cannot have access to you or come and sleep with you. I don't know if they're doing that. Third is, when they wake up, do they have access to toys, electronics, that kind of stuff? Fourth is, what time are they? Are they waking up always at the same time? Is there some other stimulus in your environment that could be triggering that? Do they get access to food? Food is a big one. People don't realize that if you drink or eat when you wake up, your body learns to wake up. That is just something that your body learns. So, sorry, we don't have a lot of time. No, separate rooms. That's awesome, Eric. So, if you can get help, please. So, I'm guessing one of them wakes up and goes and wakes the other one up. Put some cameras out at night and see what's going on, because the more you know, and then write back to us. So I want to see how that works. Who is the one waking the other one up, and can we prevent that from happening?
And it could be as simple as your neighbor's sprinklers are coming on.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
I have a person in, I don't know who it is, but somebody in my neighborhood gets off work and comes home at 2:30. I don't know who it is because they're not right by me. But the dog next door to us alerts the entire world, and I wake up every time.
Yes.
Right? Because nobody else does in the house, but I'm the sensitive sleeper, and then I have to do the hard work going back to sleep. So the camera thing, be
that's so
important.
The stuff you learn from cameras at night is amazing.
Yeah. They come straight to us, and they go back to bed.
Write in a little bit more to us, Eric. Who wakes the other one up? And when you say they come to you and go back to bed, do they wake you up, stay with you, or go back to bed? So if they're just coming and waking you up, you can prevent that.
Yeah.
They just can go back to sleep. But find out who's waking the other one up.
Yeah, and he said thank you so much. But you can always write back to us. I know we're out of time, and we have to let Dr. Granpeesheh go, but you can always write more to me. My email is shannon@autism-live.com, and then we can discuss more next week. So I really want to thank you for all that you do. and we got through it.
Yes.
And now I'm going to go cough for an hour. But thank you guys all. We're here tomorrow. We've got a great author tomorrow. See, I said it, and here it happens. We've got a great author tomorrow who is a children's book writer who identifies as being neurodivergent herself and is a mom, and has written a couple of really amazing books that bake neurodiversity into the books. So I'm so over the moon to talk to her tomorrow and share this. Her newest book is coming out on February 4th, so you won't want to miss it. Until then, give your kiddos a hug for me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, Shannon. Bye, everyone.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We hope to see